Hey friends, it's Julian. For the last week, I have been quite sick. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. And as a result, we were not able to record a new episode. My apologies. So, I have picked out an old favorite of mine to throw back into the feed that I still think about all the time. In this era of everybody talking about the impacts of AI, we wondered if there were any uses for it specifically in your kitchen. Also, someone asked if chihuahuas could be used in sled dog racing, and I have a chihuahua and I had to find out. So please enjoy Tape Classic episode number 67, AI Chefs and Unqualified Sled Dogs. We'll be back in your feed with a new episode next week.
Hello and welcome to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. I am Trace, one of the people who is here in front of this microphone, and there's more than one person in front of a microphone here in this show. I am Trace, one of the hosts of the show.
And I'm Julian Huguet. Nice.
Nailed it.
Also with a microphone, as you can tell by the fact that you can hear me right now.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
If this is your first time listening to That's Absurd, please elaborate. Thanks for listening. In this show, Julian and I use our decades of science communication knowledge to answer questions that are ridiculous or far out or just absolutely weird. And we thank you for sending those questions in. If you have questions, you can look in the show notes. We'll tell you more about that later. But in every episode, we answer at least one when we screw up, and sometimes two, and sometimes three questions.
A minimum of one.
A minimum of one question every episode. So thanks for tuning in. But first, this week is Julian Huguet, the other microphoned person.
Other mic'd up guy. Yes. Hi, welcome. Trace, I'm really excited this week to share my question. Do I get to go first? Am I sharing first?
You are sharing first, and I'm glad because I am also excited for this question. This is a really good one.
I'm pretty jazzed. This question was submitted by Loren and chosen by vote by our Patreon subscribers. I know. And I admit I may have put my thumb on the scale unintentionally with how I titled the poll.
Okay.
When I made it, and I'm going to endeavor not to do that going forward. But
that's
still,
funny, though.
This is a phenomenal question. I think it would have had a good shot of winning, even if I hadn't done that. Here is the question from Loren. Loren asks, how many chihuahuas would it take to complete the Iditarod?
Wow. I mean,
let's all just pause and just imagine it for a moment. That's nice, isn't that? That's a good, that's fun.
Listener, in case you're not aware, Julian has a chihuahua.
I do. A little chihuahua named Pepper. And listen, I know chihuahuas are a controversial breed. Some people... I used to not like them. I used to have, funny enough, like Siberian Huskies, which are like traditional sled dogs. And I was one of those like, I'm only going to get a real dog, a big dog kind of guy. And then I got my little 10-pound Chihuahua mix. And I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It does all the dog stuff. It's portable. I love this thing. So I've come around on Chihuahuas. Hopefully, if you're listening and you haven't, if you get a Chihuahua one day, I think you'll understand the appeal. But they're famous for being, to everybody who's not, their person, they're little turd muffins, aren't they?
They are kind of mean sometimes. I did have somebody who owned a Chihuahua. Their Chihuahua bit me and drew blood.
Oh, wow.
And they were just like, oh.
Right. It's cute because they can't do much damage because they're so little itty bitty. They are the smallest breed of dog. They hail from a region of Mexico, Chihuahua, right? And they're famous for like shaking all the time because they're either cold or nervous or have low blood sugar.
Selling chalupas. They're very famous for that if you're over a certain age.
In a possibly insensitive ad campaign.
Very possibly.
Right. And also, famous for that temperament of only liking one person and ready to kill just about anybody else who gets near their person, if they could. So, I love the idea of these dogs in the Iditarod, and apparently so does Loren, who adds some context. Loren says, currently house-sitting my parents' 2 chihuahuas, and I also have one. So walking 3 chihuahuas down the streets of Seattle, I'm kind of a spectacle. My favorite thing to say is that I'm building my team for the Iditarod. But now I wonder, how many chihuahuas would it take to complete the race? Is it even possible? Like, would they just freeze to death?
Oh.
All good questions, all good things to think about. So we've established what chihuahuas are. I think we're all familiar with that. But not everybody might know what the Iditarod is. I think if you're American or from maybe like a Nordic country, you'd know. But otherwise, it might be unfamiliar. So Trace, what do you know about the Iditarod?
Gosh, so we used to have reporters who would cover it on Discovery News. I think Jorge Ribas covered it at least once. Now I think he's at the Post. But anyway, it's a race, a dog sledding race, like in Alaska or something. Yep. I know it's very long. I don't know how long it is off the top of my head. And I know it's very grueling.
Yes.
That's about all I know about it.
All accurate. There's a common misconception that dates back to 100 years ago about what the race is recreating. Have you ever heard of the Great Race of Mercy, otherwise known as the Nome Serum Run?
I haven't. Tell me more. Is this like the Kessel Run? Like you're just trying to, fly your spaceship?
No, this is life and death stakes. Not misunderstanding a unit of distance for a unit of time. Anyway, in 1925, in the town of Nome, Alaska, there was a diphtheria outbreak. Diphtheria is caused by a toxin from a bacterium, and it's quite deadly. And in order to treat diphtheria, at the time, they would use a serum. It was antibodies that were taken from horses that had been exposed to diphtheria. And this town in Nome, Alaska, at the time it was much bigger. There was a gold rush around the turn of the century. And so there were about 10,000 people in Nome in 1925. Now there's about 3,700. So it was much bigger then. And they had some diphtheria serum that was expired. And unfortunately, the weather was so bad, this was in January, that the ports were icing up. The trains were unable to get there on railroad lines. Airplanes, which again were fairly new back then, they couldn't fly in these blizzard force winds. So the only option to get new serum to this town was the traditional method of dog sledding. Now, the journey from where the serum was picked up at a train station in Nenana to Nome, Alaska, was over 600 miles, so about 1,000 kilometers.
That's far.
It's January in Alaska, right? Yeah. As a matter of fact, when this episode airs, it'll be right smack in the middle of the 100th anniversary of this event.
Amazing.
Kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Look how that worked out. We did not plan that.
No.
So typically, dog sledders could cover this distance in 30 days. In good conditions, the record for doing this was 9 days, but they had to get this diphtheria serum to Nome as quick as possible. They were worried it was going to expire. They were worried about the outbreak getting larger and getting out of control and just, needing to save lives quickly. So they arranged a relay race, basically, of dog sledders. It took 20 of them. 2/3 of them were native people. And it took 100 to 150 dogs. I'm not sure the exact number. I've seen both quoted.
Yeah.
And they managed to get there in 5.5 days.
Whoa, cool. Is this they use that many dogs because it's like the beacons are lit, they relayed their way there?
Yeah. Or like old school, Pony Express, right? Use fresh dogs, get them as far as you can go while they're fresh, hand it off, new team takes over. Yeah. So it lasted from January 27th to February 2nd. Famously, there was a documentary in 1995 about this race. Have you ever heard of Balto?
I have heard of that. Yes.
Right. So Balto was the lead dog of the final team that delivered the serum to Nome. He wasn't supposed to be. The musher of Balto's team, a Norwegian named Gunnar Kassen, was supposed to hand it off to somebody else. And you could look at this. Some people think, he was a glory hound. Some people think, the guy he was handing it off to was asleep and he just figured it'd be faster if he just kept right on going. Whatever the reason, Balto's team was the last to arrive. And so this had become a press sensation as it was happening. And
Cassin and Balto got a lot of the media fame and attention. However, there's the documentary we talked about, the 1995 animated film where Balto, voiced by Kevin Bacon. There is a statue to Balto in Central Park in New York that was erected in December of 1925, and it honors all of the teams, but the statue is of Balto. But Balto was not the most important dog, and Cassin was not the most important musher. There's a guy who kind of doesn't get enough credit, and a dog that doesn't get enough credit. So, going to give them a shout out just to right some historical wrongs.
Oh, nice.
There's a Swede named Leonard Seppala, and he had a dog named Togo. Leonard and Togo carried the serum 3 times farther than any of the other teams, and through the worst conditions. Blizzard, hurricane force winds, minus 40 degrees, and they went, I'm tearing up a little bit thinking about it.
Oh, wow. Wow, dude. It's feeling emotional. I like it. Minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way. Also minus 40 degrees Celsius, because when you're in that level of temperature, you don't have to do the conversion. So take that, Americans and or Europeans, whoever is upset that we didn't convert.
I intentionally didn't say it because I was going to bring that up. So thank you for beating me to that. No, I just think of the heroism that Seppala and all these mushers had, right? They cut across like the frozen sea, like tremendous personal risk and horrible conditions and frostbite to deliver this serum and save lives. And it makes me sad. So it's just an incredible thing that these people did. A lot of people are under the impression that the Iditarod is a recreation of the gnome serum run.
Yeah.
And that is not accurate.
Oh.
First of all, the Iditarod is longer.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
So about 1,600 kilometers. It uses some parts of the trails that were used for the serum run because they also used like routes that post-delivery sled runners would use, which is, by the way, something that they still do from time to time, which is kind of insane.
That's cool.
But really what the Iditarod was an attempt to revive dog sledding, this traditional thing that, the natives have practiced for thousands of years, but because of snowmobiles, or I guess as they say in Alaska, snow machines, it was falling out of use, and a couple mushers wanted to sort of revive interest in it and keep the tradition alive. So the Iditarod started in the 60s, but in its form closer today, really in the early 70s. It's 1,000 miles, although it's getting shorter. In 2015, they moved the starting point from where it normally is. First, they do a ceremonial start in Anchorage. Mm-hmm. Then the next day, they do the real start in Willow, but that's been moved about 100 miles north to Fairbanks in recent years, and it keeps happening. Any idea why?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I unfortunately can guess.
Yeah.
It's getting warmer, and thus they need snow, and there isn't any. And I'm sure it's not human caused. It would be nice if we could study and know more about that.
If only we had data on what's causing this warming trend
data
that
and
we
information
keep seeing.
And acceptance of said data and information.
Yes. No, in recent years, the starting line has been repeatedly moved farther north because there's just not enough snow on the ground at the traditional starting point, and that just keeps happening. So it's gotten a little shorter in recent years. Now, I actually looked up a PDF of the Iditarod rules.
Okay.
And in it, it states that you need a minimum number of 12 dogs on your team, a maximum of 16. They're normally dogs that are Arctic bred dogs like Alaskan Malamutes, Siberian Huskies, but really recently the dog of choice for mushers is this mutt breed known as the Alaskan Husky. I figure we could do this in a pretty straightforward way.
Yeah.
Right? We figure out the power of the dog, not the Benedict Cumberbatch movie, which is fantastic, by the way. But the actual power of these sled dogs.
Yeah.
We figure out the power of a chihuahua. Compare the two, do some math, and presto changeo, you've got a raw number. To do that, we have to talk about power. What is power in a physics sense?
Yeah.
So power is putting energy into a system over time.
Work over time, baby.
Yep. Transferring energy to something over time. You are exactly right. The SI unit for power is the watt, and it's equal to 1 joule per second, or a kilogram meter squared per second cubed. Do those numbers mean anything to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. So they all mean one. They mean one.
Yeah. to those units, I should have said. I realized my mistake, you smart ass.
Some do. The watt in the U.S., I don't know how in other countries, but at least in the U.S., there's wattage when we talk about light bulbs, but that's really all. And most of that is meaningless now with LED lights, so they'll say like 60 watt equivalent, but the actual light bulb's like 2.8 watts or something, and you're just like,
it's that
what?
funny thing of we understand now intuitively because we've been using light bulbs with a certain wattage for so long that we think we know how bright like a certain wattage should be for an incandescent bulb. So when you have these low power requiring LED bulbs, like it uses way less. But if you read on the package like 0.6 watts or whatever, you'd be like, that's nothing.
That's not what I don't want this light bulb. It'd be too dim.
I'm not going to be able to see it. And they have to be like, so it's really funny that we had to take this SI unit and once again adjust it so it's something we intuitively understand.
Oh, humans. We're the best.
But you know who had to do that with power long ago? Scottish inventor James Watt. For whom the Watt was much later named. So James Watt invented a steam engine. He didn't, make the first one, but he improved it and he wanted to sell it. He made very little money for most of his life inventing. He even has a quote about how being an inventor is such a waste of time. So, kind of depressing there. But anyway, when he was trying to sell it, he's selling it to people in the 1700s who, for all their needs on a farm or whatever they're doing up to this point, they're using horses.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
makes sense. Horsepower.
Exactly. That's what he came up with in order for them to kind of understand. Yeah.
James Watt invented the word, like the term or the like concept of horsepower?
Yes.
That's cool.
He had read other people compare the power of an engine to horses, but he's the one who actually quantified it.
Cool.
So there's a few different stories about how it actually happened. I don't know which is true.
Sure.
One that I kept sawing cited over and over was he watched some mill horses work. They were lashed to some spokes attached to a wheel, a drive shaft, and he watched them turn this shaft going around a 20-foot diameter circle, and he noted that they could do about 144 revolutions per hour, or about 2.4 a minute.
Yeah.
And then he estimated, okay, how much force is this horse pulling with? About 180 pounds of force, right?
Right.
So he calculates that 1 horsepower is equivalent to 1 horse doing 33,000 foot-pounds of work in a minute.
Wow.
Again, we're getting to some units that maybe don't make intuitive sense. So the way that he could quantify it is, imagine you've got a 33-pound bucket that's tied to a line that's connected to a horse, and this bucket is down a 1,000-foot well. Well, a typical horse working comfortably could pull that bucket up that 1,000-foot well in a minute.
Or to convert that to meters and kilograms, a 15-kilogram bucket, 300 meters.
Yes, exactly. In what's a metric minute? Just kidding. We've covered that.
A metric minute.
A minute. Okay. So later, when watt was standardized, it turns out that 1 horsepower is equivalent to about 750 watts, a little less than that. Also, there's jokes about a horse not having 1 horsepower. Horses can have a high peak horsepower, right? They can use a lot of energy quickly, and they top out around 15 horsepower. But for a sustained amount of power that they can provide over the course of the day, it is about 1 horsepower.
Cool.
Right.
I always wondered that because horsepower doesn't seem to be super equivalent, but I guess it makes sense if you're thinking about it as like this discrete task and like measure that and then, just start to, It makes a lot more sense when you break it down that way as opposed to comparing 1 to 1. Oh, revolutions per minute or whatever.
Right.
Right. No wonder it doesn't match. That makes sense.
Drawing this bucket up out of a 1,000-foot well, right? When you've got a 500 horsepower engine, now you can theoretically maximally pull up 500 of these buckets, or you can pull it up 500 times faster, right? Like it helps put it in perspective. And it makes it, if I were a farmer or somebody using a horse for labor, it would help me go, wow, this engine can replace a lot of horses.
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, and it makes sense when you're thinking of things that the average person might use. Something like a small tractor or a lawnmower might have the power of 10 horses, and that, again, it could pull this bucket up a well, 5 buckets or a bucket 5 times larger or something like that in the same amount of time as a horse. It gives you this like practical place to start.
Right.
Lawnmowers and stuff are like, oh, this is a 4 horsepower lawnmower. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Got it. Makes sense.
And then you also start thinking about like, hey, I don't need to like keep feeding it and cleaning up poop and keep multiple horses for when this horse dies.
It's sick or it needs a break.
Yeah. You can see the appeal. So, a big upfront investment, I'm sure. But then over time, okay, now that I can understand all these benefits and just how much power this engine has, I'm going to start industrializing. Cool. So let's try and do the same thing for our sled dogs. Now, I poked around online trying to find some figures. All I could really find were some like physics word problems that made some estimations, right?
Okay.
And they said, this sled dog can pull with a force of 60 newtons on this sled, and it can sustain it going 2.2 meters per second. Well, that's really easy to convert to watts. You just multiply 60 by 2.2, you get 132 watts, or 0.18 horsepower. So that's what we're looking at with our example sled dog. Now, Trace, would you believe it?
This is where I was like, do you think a lot of people have done this with chihuahuas?
I could not find even any sort of physics textbooks that looked into chihuahua power.
Yeah. Really?
And I was worried.
Shocked. I'm shocked.
Yes. Shocked. I was like, what are we going to do? How? And then I had a brainwave, Trace.
So, audience, before we started recording, Julian was like, hang on, wait a minute. I'll join you in a minute. I'm doing an experiment with my dog.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't understand what you mean by that.
Yes.
But okay, if that, like, whatever. I'll talk to you in 15 minutes. Julian, did you use Pepper to do science?
I did. I drafted in my own chihuahua mix. Poor dog was sleeping. It was early in the morning. I tried to coax her out of bed. She went and hid in the closet. So I had to lure her out with her favorite treats. And we went down the stairs of my apartment. And then I had her run up the stairs multiple times. And I timed her running up these stairs. Now, she absolutely phoned in the last few steps. Sure. Either she's being lazy or she's getting old or whatever. So it kind of extended the amount of time that it took. And maybe the calculation's not going to be totally fair because of that. Yeah. But here's the thinking. As you mentioned, doing work over time, that's power.
Yeah.
And when you elevate an object, right, when it gains vertical height, you are adding potential energy to that object. You are doing work.
Yes.
That includes bringing yourself up some stairs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, some people, that's all they do at the gym is just walk upstairs for hours at a time.
Right. And that takes power, and you can measure the amount of power it takes. All I need to know is the weight of my dog, the height of my stairs, and the amount of time it takes her to get up it.
Yeah.
So first, I weighed Pepper with our bathroom scale.
Yeah.
She is exactly 12 pounds, according to my scale that has one significant figure.
Nice.
Which the vet would say is too fat. She's supposed to be about 10 pounds or 22 kilograms.
You don't need to do Pepper dirty like that.
I don't need
do
to pepper
dirty
her.
like that.
Sorry about that, Pepper. Well, that's really, I mean, I'm the one who controls her food and exercise.
Yeah,
so
true.
that's a me
That's
thing.
true. Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to have to work on that. Glad I weighed her. I measured the height of the stairs at my apartment. There are 15 of them. They average 19 centimeters in height each. So just multiply those together to get a total height of 2.85 meters. And then I put Pepper at the bottom stair, and she was a very good girl. I told her to wait. And then I got to the top and I told her to come, and I started the timer and then gave her a little bit of treat and then did it again. And she averaged running up these stairs a time of 4.28 seconds.
Okay. Got it.
Again, absolutely not trying the final 2 steps.
Sure.
So her sustained power really dropped off by the end there.
Yeah, what if you just track those 2 steps from the total height?
I chose not to because I think sustained power is important for something like the Iditarod.
Yeah, true.
So I'm going to take her warts and all. So we throw all this into the big math calculation, which is just basically multiplying Pepper's mass times the force of gravity here on Earth, 9.8 meters per second squared, times the height that she went up, 2.85 meters, divided by her average time, which was 4.28 seconds, and I get a total horsepower of less than 0.05 or 0.27 sled dog power.
Huh. Okay. I wasn't going to say anything because I don't want to shame Pepper now that I know the scientific subject.
Right. It gets worse, though, for Chihuahuas as a whole. Not just for Pepper, but for all Chihuahuas. Because Pepper's half Chihuahua. We think the other half is Jack Russell Terrier.
Okay.
A full pure breed Chihuahua is about half the weight of Pepper.
Oh.
So assuming that it would go up the stairs in the same amount of time, that means it has half the power.
Yeah.
So that's 0.025 horsepower or 0.13 dog power.
Oh, wow.
And then it gets worse because I did some more reading on the Iditarod, and it turns out our physics question that assumed 2.2 meters per second was really selling sled dogs short.
Oh.
I found a musher who was talking about what it takes to run the Iditarod for these dogs, and they don't average 2.2 meters per second. They average 3.5 meters per second over the 1,000-mile race, or about 8 miles an hour. Doesn't sound like a lot.
Good. That is a lot.
1,000 miles? That's incredible.
I couldn't go 1,000 miles at 8 miles an hour, and that's
Absolutely not.
That's pretty quick.
Absolutely not. So that actually means that a typical Chihuahua would have 0.085 dog power.
Oh, God. Oh,
yeah.
Chihuahua.
So,
or as they say, ay, Chihuahua.
Ay, caramba. So, remember the rules were, you need a minimum of 12 sled dogs, maximum of 16 to enter the Iditarod, right? That's what race organizers...
Maximum of 16?
Maximum of 16.
Oh, no.
Born and bred sled dogs for the Iditarod. Well, when you consider that, you have to round up, but it would take 12 full Chihuahuas to equal the pulling power of one sled dog.
Yeah.
Which means if we're going to replace them 1-to-1 with our sled dogs, you would need, again, because I had to round, 142 to 189 Chihuahuas to have enough power to match those of the teams that are entered in the Iditarod.
I'm just picturing it. The number of
Loren,
the number of reins alone.
You have a ways to go.
From the 3 that they're walking through Seattle or whatever. That's amazing.
But this is a very simplistic approach, right? I just said, well, a sled dog has this power, a Chihuahua has this much power, swap them in. Of course, it is not that simple. And the more you look into how sled dogs are bred, like the adaptations that they have been selected for, they're so incredible, right?
Yeah.
First of all, temperament's important. You can breed dogs for that. These dogs love to run.
Yeah.
We had a couple Siberian Huskies growing up. My mom was famous in our neighborhood because to get this energy, this pent up need to run energy out of them, she would rollerblade with them through the neighborhood. So
Amazing.
She would just take off with them at full speed. They were quite a sight. And they could go. They could really, really book it. They love running. On top of that, the dogs need the right temperament to work with other dogs and a lot of people. There's tons of volunteers, event organizers, vets, tourists, watchers. They need to be able to handle all that and being in a team with other dogs. But then there's the physiological adaptations that they have. They have basically 2 fur coats.
Yeah, they have like an undercoat.
Right.
Yeah.
So the undercoat, the hair grows shorter. It's densely packed. It's meant to insulate them from the cold. But the outer coat is also known as a guard coat.
Yeah.
Have you heard that term?
Yep. You're going to be upset if I bring it up. If I tell you how I know it, you're going to be upset.
Wait.
You're going to be upset.
Does this involve a fort on Mackinac Island?
Because on Mackinac Island, it was one of the top fur trading posts in all of North America at the time. Millions of dollars passed through the streets of Mackinac Island in the year 1822 alone. I think it was something like $3 million passed through there. Just in furs, and most of those were beaver, but there were also other pelts. Bear was mostly for wrapping, but they had fox and elk and all sorts of other things, raccoon. But beaver famously also has two coats. They have the like downy undercoat, and then they have the guard fur that would keep them, dry.
Right.
And the downy undercoat is what they would use to make felt hats, which is the whole reason the fur trade existed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not the whole reason, but like a major reason.
Yeah, it's a big reason. Big money maker.
That's where the money came.
Right. So likewise, for this cold weather animal, these sled dogs have that undercoat. They have the guard coat. The longer hair helps keep snow away from that undercoat, keeps it from getting wet and cold, helps insulate them. They have bushy tails. Have you thought about how that might be an adaptation?
I haven't actually ever thought about that with a dog.
Yeah.
Why would that
You
be
think
an
it'd just be kind of a cute thing, right?
Yeah, they're cute. They're so fluffy. Mm-hmm. What are they fluffy for?
Have you ever seen a sled dog sleeping in the cold?
No.
Well, they curl up and they put their little bushy tail over their nose.
Oh, they're so cute.
So the long bushy tail helps keep their noses warm when they're sleeping.
That's so cute.
Isn't that adorable?
That's so cute. I love it.
So sweet.
Oh my gosh.
They have long tongues that helps with heat regulation because, they're running for a long period of time.
And they don't have sweat glands.
They do not have sweat glands. They have webbed feet.
Cool.
Yeah. Helps them
That's
gripping
neat.
on snow and ice. And then what I thought was the coolest and probably most significant of all when we're talking about why Chihuahuas can't be a 12-to-1 replacement for a sled dog, they have an unusual way of metabolizing fat in order to get energy.
Really?
Really. So
I wish I had that.
Don't we all? As a matter of fact, researchers are studying it to see if there's some way that it could be used for humans to burn fat. Normally, right, like us, they take glycogen, they break it down for energy, right? But then when they run out of that, their body starts breaking down other things and anaerobic processes, which creates lactic acid that builds up in your muscles. That's why you feel sore after you work out and you do a lot of anaerobic exercise.
Yeah.
Sled dogs normally metabolize the same way. But when they start doing an endurance race, within about 24 hours, their metabolism switches and they start bringing fat directly into the cells and breaking that down for energy.
Cool.
So they're not using those reserves within their cells and tiring out the cells. They also have more mitochondria in their cells for producing more energy.
The powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah, you got it. That's the one.
Yeah.
So this is something that is unique to these Arctic sled dog breeds. That
And
researchers,
Chihuahuas,
they don't got it.
They shake real good.
They shake so good. Probably worse. I tried to look up if that's because they're cold. I saw it might be, a nervousness thing, or it might be Chihuahuas have a high metabolism and they're burning through a lot of sugar. And so they're shaking because they're low on sugar and just, needlessly using this energy, which would make them even worse for this
Sled
cold
dogs,
weather
yeah,
sled
for
dog
sure.
application. These sled dogs, during a race, they can eat 10 to 12,000 calories a day.
Wow, that's like a Michael Phelps.
That's insane. I mean, high performance athletes are like 3,000 plus calories a day.
Yeah, 10
it's
to
like
12 is a
3
lot.
to 4 Michael Phelpses.
Per dog.
Per dog, yeah. So they have these like really high fat diets that they're fed on the trail. And of course, there are vets checking up on them each way along the trail. There are rules in the Iditarod that like it is not acceptable to like have a dog, just die or whatever. But you like if that happens, you're out of the race.
Yeah.
So they're definitely consider the animal welfare of these animals. A lot of them run with booties too to help them over the rough snow or terrain. So these dogs are so specialized for this that really you can't just swap in those Chihuahuas and expect them to go. I think the same way that you can't take any old machine with the same amount of power and expect it to be able to do the Iditarod. Kind of like how in the 1925 Serum Run, we had these machines, locomotives, airplanes, boats. They have more power than the sled teams, but because of the conditions, only a dog with its ability to navigate this rough terrain could actually get through these passes and do it, right? So you can't just swap in a machine. Sure, like snow machines, they're really great for going over that terrain now, but an actual living, thinking creature that can place its feet and navigate is still fantastically adapted for doing that. So there's still great reasons to use these sled dogs like they still do today sometimes. So with all that said, it wouldn't be great for the chihuahuas, right? You'd need an obscene amount of them, as much as 189 at least. But most importantly, Rule 43 of the Iditarods states that only dogs suitable for Arctic travel are permitted to enter the race. So if you showed up with 189 dogs and showed them all the math and said, look, I've got them little sweaters too, so they won't freeze in the minus 40 degree weather, they would still say, no, these are not acceptable for the Iditarod. You may not compete.
That's funny. Wow. Oh, perfect timing.
And then Pepper barks. She's upset.
And Pepper says, I want to do it.
She's discriminated against. So there you have it. Loren, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for submitting it. Thank you to Pepper, our subject. Yes, kisses. Pepper's giving me kisses right now. She forgives me for using her as a science test subject. Thank you.
Good job, Pepper.
Good job, Pepper. Keep training. We'll get there someday.
And on that note, let's take a quick break where we all think about how cute Pepper is and pet our own little animals. And
imagine 189 peppers tied to a sled pulling me through the snow.
I don't want to imagine. I feel like it would be very stressful. We'll be right back with another question.
Welcome back to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. We've mushed through the first question, and now it's time to get on with the second leg of this two-person podcast relay race. Trace, what's your question this week?
My question this week comes from AJ, who sent in a clip.
Hi, this is AJ from Cambridge in the UK. And my question is, how many ChatGPT queries would I need to cook an egg? I was using ChatGPT to try and inspire me a little bit and add a bit of variety to my breakfast, and this question came to mind. When I make a query, all the compute power mostly must be dissipated as heat, and so I wondered how many questions would I have to ask to have cooked my breakfast too? And the process of creating the large language models must also generate tons of heat, even probably orders of magnitude more than the queries themselves. Could the companies that generate the models cook dinner for their workforce at the same time? Or a whole country? Or just me? Thanks for a great show. It makes me smile every week. All the best.
Thanks, AJ. And thanks for sending that question. That was great. Yeah, they elaborated in their write-up as well, basically the same thing. They said, if I got a computer or 200 to do my job for me, could I cook my breakfast using it? Which I thought, how are you using ChatGPT? Is it doing your job for you? Great. If you can get a computer to do your job and still have your job, great. Amazing.
So long as, again, caveats that it's like not putting anybody's lives at risk or anything, right?
Right,
like,
yeah.
I don't trust large language models to be accurate because they're just like word predictors, right?
Yes.
They don't know anything, which I think
Correct.
people who don't understand how AI works like assume that it knows stuff. So I've seen cases, right? There was a lawyer who got in trouble because he was using it to write up legal briefs, and it was citing cases that did not exist.
Yes, absolutely. You're totally right. I think that's a good start. Like, we should mention really quick what an LLM is and what AI is in the context of what we're talking about. LLMs/AI, large language models, are essentially a set of algorithms that are run through a bunch of different data. So when they run through, let's say, all of the data on Wikipedia, it would mean that they would look at all of the words, the order of all of the different words, and attempt to understand why they're in those orders, but not the meaning behind those words. They just look at the orders of the words. And then they also do look at them and say, like, okay, on the Iditarod page, the words are in this order. And they move that data, that metadata, and they put it all together. So then when you type in something into an LLM, say you want to know more about the Iditarod, how many dogs are in the Iditarod, it doesn't go and look at Wikipedia. What it does is, statistically speaking, the information that I have about that would be related to the Iditarod would come to you in this order of a sentence. Right. It doesn't read the sentence, and it doesn't even think about what the meaning of the sentence is. It just looks at what data it has and says, statistically, this is what someone would write if they were writing an answer based on that question.
My favorite is its inability to understand humor, right? Like when people give joke answers to like, how do I keep the cheese on my pizza? And they're like, oh, somebody in a Reddit thread was like, Elmer's glue works great. And then like Google's AI search function pops that up as a real suggestion.
Right.
That's very funny to me.
Yeah. And that's a great example of exactly what it's doing. It's assigned metadata, and statistically, this is an answer that you would see in this order if you asked that prompt. And other LLMs and other AI systems all work this way as well. The pixels in like picture ones are just, this is statistically what pixel color would be in this part of a picture. If you asked it to like with this metadata, it doesn't know anything. They aren't necessarily, it's not that they're not creating something. I was about to say they don't create anything. They do create things, but the things they're creating are 100% referenced from other things that exist.
It's an amalgamation.
Yeah, they're not inventing new things as much as citing lots of things all at once. And you can argue about whether artists do the same thing in the Pablo Picasso, great artist steal, kind of idea. But the point isn't to argue about whether they're good or bad in this piece. The point is now you kind of understand what they are.
Right.
In order to do all of that stuff, they need lots of computers. And those computers have to get all of that initial training data and put it into their memory banks and understand how all of those words go together and the metadata around all of those words, which, by the way, is sometimes manually entered. Like sometimes humans go in there and go, this is a picture of a dog, and this is this type of dog, because, again, the LLM wouldn't know that until you train it to know that. But anyway, we're asking specifically, they are asking, how many ChatGPT queries would I need to cook an egg? So that helps in some ways. We can have an idea of the type of computers, the data that we're going to need. But Julian, how do you cook an egg? What does that even mean?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. I'm really not a good cook.
Let me ask you a different way. Okay. How do you prefer your eggs? Fried, over easy, boiled, soft-boiled?
So easy. I always unintentionally end up making scrambled eggs.
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
At a certain point, the yolk breaks, and I'm like, and we're doing scrambled again.
Scrambled again.
Scrambled it is. The fates have chosen.
That's funny. I poured through several physics and mathematics forums of people discussing the perfect egg and how to cook eggs, and it's actually a really complicated process, and it made me think, what is cooking? What is cooking anyway?
What even is cooking?
What is it? This is one of those questions where you're like, oh my God. Because if you want to know if you cooked an egg, you need a threshold of I cooked it. It is now cooked. It wasn't before. Now it is. And so what is that? What is it all the way to like everything is cooked through? Is it just once the proteins start folding? Like what is cooked?
My instinct is to think back to our chicken slapping duel episode.
Yeah.
And kind of establish it as the point where it is safe to eat, which would be like pasteurization temperature to kill off harmful bacteria like salmonella.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay. So I went to just a little bit of history of cooking, by the way. We've been cooking, did you know this? Since about 6,000 BCE, 5,000 BCE, like Neolithic prehistory Stone Age times. And that's not just cooking in general. That's cooking eggs. We have evidence of egg cooking that is from 6,000 BCE.
Did they find like the eggshells in the garbage disposal?
I'm guessing that must be. Yeah, I think they did. It's not always chicken, it's like ostrich and all these other, different animals that lay eggs.
It predates domestication, right?
Right,
so they must have found some eggs and then...
We didn't, domesticate fowl until like 1400 BCE or something.
Right, right. But cooking's very important in the history of Homo sapiens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cooking allowed us to grow bigger brains and have smaller guts and all sorts of other things. We've done lots of videos on this over the years. Cooking is an incredible, like when people are like, oh, invention of the wheel. And I'm like, no, that's not even the big one. The big one is cooking.
Holding something over a fire.
Yeah. Any kind of tool is good. Like the wheel, very important, but kind of an obvious one versus like hey, I'm going to eat this thing that looks disgusting, but first I'm going to put it over a fire for a while.
I imagine the first time a human being cooked, it also must have looked disgusting, right? Like imagine you go your entire existence, you're eating like raw red meat, right? Yeah. And it's all bloody and gushy, and you're like, oh, that's the good stuff. And then somebody's like, wait a minute. We've got this fire to keep us warm. I don't know, this meat's been on the carcass for a while. Maybe I'll heat it up again over the fire. And it like turns this brown color?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how trippy that must have been for the first humans to do it? And then they try it. They're like, I don't know, I'm hungry. I'll try it. And then they're like, hey, wait a minute.
Dang, dude.
Wait a minute.
Og. You gotta try this, dude.
Og just raised the stakes. That's what we're gonna call it. Oh my God.
Yes, we're gonna be rich with whatever monetary system we currently have in 1400 BCE. Yeah, cooking has got to be just one of the most mind-blowing things. And I imagine it, like now how people are kind of jerks sometimes when people make different food choices than them. We talked about don't be a pizza bigot. Mm-hmm. It's like, don't be a food bigot in general. If someone's a vegan, don't be a bigot about it. Just let them eat what they want. Yeah. But I imagine at the point when they first started cooking meat, it was the opposite. People were like, yo, Og cooks his meat.
Oh, he puts it over the warm light.
Ugh.
And he makes it change color.
It gets all brown and crusty on the edges. Ugh.
He sprinkles some rock on it.
He eats rocks?
He eats rocks that he spreads
on
the brown. He took some perfectly good meat and he ruined it.
That's funny. So I found this paper in the Journal of Food Engineering that talked about cooking, density, heat capacity, and the thermal conductivity of liquid egg product. It's a 2006 paper. And they looked only at the cooking of different liquid egg products, which is really awesome. But also they had 3 decimal place precision in this paper for how they were cooking these eggs.
Wow.
And they cooked so many different eggs in different ways with different... But the point is, they looked at the joules required to denature the egg proteins. And I thought, similar to your answer, right? We had to get to a base SI unit that we could use that would work across 2 different types of thing. And one of those is cooking, and the other one is how much heat is generated by these computers. Yes.
I can't help but think that 3 decimal places is very exact.
Yeah! That's good. That's really good. Yeah,
all right, please continue.
I liked it. So I found a bunch of people doing the very simple physics and math on Reddit of this exact question, like the heat capacity of eggs with their shell, masses, temperature changes, using joules. But the proteins in the egg whites that you mentioned, right? Like once they start to get to a certain temperature, proteins and pasteurization, you get to a safe temperature. Right? The 2 major proteins in the egg whites are ovotransferrin and ovalbumin. And they cook at about 61 Celsius and 84 Celsius, respectively, 142 and 184. But the yolk proteins cook at a lower temperature of 54 Celsius or about 130 Fahrenheit. So if you cooked only to the yolk temperature, they would still, because bacteria start to die in the 150s Fahrenheit.
Right.
So, you need to cook it more than to cook the yolk and enough to get those whites cooked. But you want to do a combination. You don't want to be overcooked. Ella Quittner, really interesting, found this blog of hers where she was looking at the best way to cook an egg. She tried boiling, simmering, steaming, boiling, then steeping, pressure cooking, sous videing, and baking. She did these experiments in her kitchen, peeled all of the eggs, and then took this really incredible photo. Let me show it to you, of all the different eggs.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Cool.
So she made this grid of all the different eggs and all the different ways you can cook the different eggs. And
That's excellent.
It is absolutely excellent. No yolks. It was just really, really precise. In the end, if you do the math, and I'll put that picture on our Instagram, but if we do the math, we get, depending on the egg, a 60-gram egg, about 2 ounces. You get a temperature change from room temperature. So you leave your egg at room temperature and then you cook it. It just needs less energy, which is going to help us in this question. So from 70 Fahrenheit, 21 Celsius to cooked, whatever cooked means. We haven't sort of figured that out. And it has been debated for decades what the perfectly cooked egg is. A perfect egg is called a 6X egg. It's in the 60-degree range. And it's a slow-cooked egg, which I think makes sense with the amount of heat we're talking here. Serious Eats says it needs to get to 77 Celsius, not to exceed 82 Celsius, blah, blah, blah. So let's meet in the middle, 80 Celsius.
Okay.
The specific heat capacity of an egg is about 3.2 joules per gram Celsius. So you end up with a calculation of Q, which is to say the amount of joules required,
right,
equals 60 grams times the specific heat, 3.2 joules per gram Celsius, times the delta, which is 59 Celsius. You end up with about 11,000 joules in change. So that's like running a 60-watt light bulb for a few minutes. That's how much it takes to actually cook the egg. It's funny that we were just talking about watts.
Talking about watts, yeah.
I know, isn't that funny? So we just need to know how hot an LLM computer is going to get in order to understand how many joules it's going to make or watts over time, right? And so ChatGPT, by the way, do you know what ChatGPT stands for? I didn't know this. It stands for
Chat. Guess, please, thanks.
Yes, please, thanks. Yeah, that's it. How'd you know?
Oh,
that's exactly right.
I typed it into ChatGPT and that's what came up.
Jerry's pretty tall. That's what it stands for. Chat.
Just a word guessing machine after all.
Chat generative pre-trained transformer is the name of it. And OpenAI is the owner, and they're not particularly open about how they made it, even though it's right there in the name. You'd think they would be, OpenAI, you think, but no. It's a partnership with Microsoft, which is more open. So ChatGPT, we can assume, is running on Microsoft's Azure servers, which again has a lot of public information about. So that means they're probably using NVIDIA DGX or HGX A100 GPUs in these server boxes somewhere. There was a Medium piece by Krish Bhupathi who really broke this down, but also similar sources on like The Verge and other blogs. Julian, as somebody who, full disclosure, works for NVIDIA occasionally.
I do. I just did earlier this month.
Do you know what a DGX or a A100 NVIDIA GPU is? And if so, can you tell me?
Okay, I don't know the specifics about that chip, but I do understand what a GPU is and why it's really well suited for AI.
Can you tell me? Because I would love because I have a bit about it, but I would love to know from somebody who works in this industry more.
So if we go back to kind of the beginning of computer graphics, which started 25 years ago, actually, the first graphics cards were invented really by NVIDIA because they realized that the way computers at the time handled graphical displays was inefficient, right? Normally, before the GPU, graphics processing unit, computers just had a CPU, a central processing unit. And obviously, they still do. That's like the brain of your computer. Yeah. But the CPU works in a linear fashion, right? It just goes from one calculation to the next, to the next, to the next.
One task at a time, and that's it.
And when it comes to actually displaying, like calculating all the different pixels on your screen and the color that they're supposed to be, that's really inefficient, right? It's got to go like one at a time. A graphics processing unit, GPU, does those calculations in parallel. So it does as many as it can simultaneously. And that way, it can pump out those pixels to your screen much, much, much faster. And it can be really specialized for that. Well, about a decade, maybe decade and a half ago, I think it was a Canadian researcher, I forget his name, but he realized that this chip architecture was perfect for training one type of artificial intelligence known as neural networks. Yeah. A neural network is basically an attempt to like mathematically recreate how our brains learn. It's a system of like interconnected nodes that have a value. And as you feed it information, the neural network adjusts the value of these nodes. So if you can do that in parallel, like a lot of nodes having their values change simultaneously, you can train that much more efficiently. So what do you know? NVIDIA happens to be in the perfect place for making AI and becoming $1 trillion company. And no, before you ask, I did not buy any stock.
Oh, come on.
I didn't. I
but
mean,
they still
I knew,
pay you
but
to
I was
work there,
like,
but
I was
sometimes.
like, who's going to want a random guessing machine? Apparently everyone.
Apparently everybody.
Anyway, it's got uses. I just think right now, full disclosure, and this is my opinion, I think there's a craze where people are trying to get it in everything because it's the new hotness and it's attracting a lot of investment.
Agreed.
I think that will die down, and then real useful applications of it are going to stick around.
I
But
totally agree.
Right now, it's in everything, and it feels a little silly.
Yes, I totally agree. I think of this as do you remember NFTs? This is the same kind of hype, right? Crypto in general has some really interesting ideas, just like LLMs and AI, but they are not consumer technologies. They are parts of other technologies. Like LLMs will be really useful when we get voice computing, because they'll be able to naturally process language and naturally respond in language. But you're not going to be like chat-botting with it. It will just be part of a bigger system that'll just work with what you need it to work with. Like imagine it being all captions. We won't need to go get them made. It'll just be created natively, like it'll just happen, for people who need them. When they need captioning of real life events, that could be something that could be done. And it wouldn't be like, well, we'll just AI it. They'll just be like, no, I have a caption machine that does my captions, and it is run on an LLM, but they don't talk about it that way. It's like, it's just part of a wider technology that we just haven't figured out what that is yet.
I think it's going to be great for accessibility like that.
It will be
wonderful.
Incredible for people who need this kind of tool. It's going to be so useful. But at the moment, it's still like, let's kind of strong arm this into everything.
We've taken the Roman approach of stuffing it into everything and going, does that solve anything?
Does that solve anything?
Hey, I've got for my job, I've got some calendar system that works fine. It's very simple. There's now an AI chatbot in it that pops up every time I'm trying to use it that's like, do you need my help? And it blocks me from being able to do the job that I actually want to do. And I want to punt it into the sun.
Well, maybe you should tell it that and see what it says.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so ChatGPT. It's running on these servers. And a little bit about, there's been a lot of exposition here. We are going to get to the answer, I promise. But now you know how GPUs work, but we also need to know a little bit about how the internet works or how these server systems work in order to really understand what it is that we're looking for when it comes to you're doing a query. What does that even mean?
Right.
So the internet is a series of tubes.
Oh, I saw it coming at the last minute. Oh, Alaska Senator.
Alaska
said that.
Senator.
Look at that.
That's right. We got so many alignments on this episode.
It's all
Senator
coming together.
Ted Stevens of Alaska said that, and everyone made fun of him. But it's actually not that wrong.
It's oversimplified, but yeah.
Yeah. So your computer is connected to your ISP, your internet service provider, which is usually a windowless building somewhere in your town that is essentially the same thing as if you hardwired your computer to a modem in your house. It's essentially doing the same thing, but over a longer distance to that building. Once it's in that building, then it would connect through fiber optics to a bigger regional windowless building somewhere that has a bunch more computers in it, and all of them are talking to each other and to all of the computers that they're connected to. And then those regional networks are connected through even more windowless buildings that have a big, what's called a backbone. And then those backbones are wired all over the world. And so when you dial up or, pull up a website, Netflix.com, for example, or open the app, it goes to a computer called a DNS, a dynamic name server, and that tells the computer the specific address, like a phone number, called the IP address of Netflix. One of the Netflix IP addresses is 108.175.321. That is a Netflix IP address. They own the range from 108.75.32.0 to 255. Your computer pings the fastest one, and Netflix's computer connects it to a very close data center to you, so you get fast speeds. And you end up with access to what is essentially and literally a computer that Netflix owns with a hard drive filled with Netflix's media. That's not entirely true. It's a little more simplified than that, because what you're actually doing is you're on an Amazon computer with Amazon information that Netflix has rented from them. But the point being, you're essentially dialing to a computer. The computer is telling you that phone number, called an IP address. Your computer connects to that computer and starts browsing what it has on that. Facebook is the same. Every internet website that you go to is the same. You are literally dialing in or, logging into someone else's computer, and you're browsing around the same way you would on your own.
You're the client, and it's serving you the information stored on it. It's the server.
It is the server. And a data center is thousands and thousands of flat computers with no monitors connected to them that are all there for a specific purpose. Some of them have hard drives in them. Maybe they host all of Netflix in that data center that's in, say, Northern California, near to where everybody in the Bay Area wants to access it, and they're all accessing it from some data center nearby. It could host graphics cards if you wanted to, say, run an LLM. It could just host fast CPUs if, say, you wanted to use it as a compute cloud because you wanted to do astronomical calculations because you're a university. Whatever the company or group needs, the servers can be set up to do. Facebook adds about 4 petabytes of new data every day. Petabytes. That's like 4,000 computers every day. Like a terabyte is like one laptop. So it's like 4,000 laptops every day of new data every day. And so they probably have a data center filled with thousands and thousands of new hard drives literally being added to that server room just so that you can argue with your aunt.
Now imagine YouTube that's uploading video.
I didn't even bring that because they're adding hundreds of minutes every hour or something. And it's just like a ridiculous amount of data. And those hard drives do fail, by the way. They break and things go wrong and somebody wired it incorrectly or there's a power outage or a blip and people manage that all the time. So if you remember when some jerk took over the company Twitter and talked about how they didn't need most of these employees and why do they have so many, Twitter had data center employees, thousands of people that have to manage all of that data. And, they just let them all go. So really interesting.
And then the website didn't work perfectly?
It didn't work as well. Doesn't work as well as it used to.
That seems like an oversight. I feel
really interesting.
I feel like a better manager could have, addressed that. Anyway.
Maybe seen that coming. So anyway, Microsoft's Azure data centers, Azure Data, are what's running ChatGPT. So if you want to run an LLM like Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Notion AI, whatever it is that you're running, you're getting these towers of computers that are all filled with GPUs, which now you know what they are and you know how to get to them. So in each box of these flat computers in a server center probably has 8 NVIDIA H100 or A100 GPUs in there. They're just stacked in there and other computers say, hey, run this calculation, and the GPUs spit it back out to them. The towers are heated by energy running through those CPUs. So as AJ rightly pointed out, it's mostly heat that they end up generating. The interesting thing, though, is what ends up happening is, let's say you put a watt into a computer. What do you get out of that computer, you think?
Well, heat and whatever, you ask it to do, hopefully.
Yeah. But the thing that it generates is basically 1 watt of heat, right? You get an equivalent amount of energy out that you put in.
That makes sense.
Because physics, basically, right? It's the so if you're putting in 100 watts of power and it needs that to compute it, what is producing is, yes, the answer to your question, but also a lot of heat. And so it needs to be constantly cooled. It's cooled by air or water. The reason it's water, a lot of high-end PCs are also water cooled because conduction is better than convection. But anyway, we've got hundreds or thousands of these boxes in a server farm somewhere training and running these LLMs. It's really incredible stuff. So if you're running an NVIDIA A100 SXM4 GPU, according to their operating manual, which I found on NVIDIA's website, the expected temperatures under load are there. Do you have any idea what a good GPU might run at?
I know the max for my system before
which is?
It really starts chugging. I've got an NVIDIA RTX 3090, which is obviously a consumer card, so it's not nearly as powerful as what's in these data centers. But I know it really starts to get unhappy when it starts getting around 90 degrees C.
Yeah, the top limit of these is about 85 C. They can just run at 85 C all the time. That is about 185 Fahrenheit. And when it's operating in its standard data center environment, that's about what it is. They can spike, obviously, they can get a little hotter, when they need to, but generally that's what they attempt to. And they're just boiling the oceans over there running all of these cards. Think about how 8 of these all running 85C. You're putting in watts and you're getting out, again, a watt of heat. And so, and it's generating 85
Did you say a watt
Celsius.
of heat or a lot of heat?
A watt of heat.
It's
just
a watt of
heat.
That's a watt of heat from that column.
Yeah. And so could you cook an egg? Remember what I mentioned before? 65 or 6x egg. We're at 85. And
85 watts?
Yeah, 85 Celsius. And it needed to be about 65 Celsius in order to cook an egg. So you can cook an egg. And in fact, the hotter you get the egg, though, again, according to Serious Eats, the tighter the proteins are going to bond, the firmer, drier, and more rubbery the egg white is going to become. And if you overcook it, you're going to get aromas of hydrogen sulfide, which
you don't
is
want
like
that.
a rotten egg smell. So
Yeah.
85 might actually be too hot.
Turn
to
the
cook an
yolk,
egg.
the little yolk ball outside, start turning that green, that green
Yuck.
color.
Yucky.
Yeah, that's when that's
Yeah.
from when it's too hot and there's a chemical reaction between the yolk and the albumin.
Yucky.
So that's cool.
No, thank you. Okay, so to check in, we know that the GPU is going to cook the egg. It's probably going to overcook it. So is one query enough to cook it? How much power is in one, you type one answer? Because what you end up hearing a lot in the discussions about these is how much energy it requires to do one, right? In May 2024, a paper was released in EPRI, which is Powering Intelligence, Analyzing Artificial Intelligence and Data Center Energy Consumption. Again, May 2024, so pretty recent. A Google search requires about 0.3 watt hours. Because again, you're logging into a computer, it's getting you the address, you're going to a Google server somewhere in the data center somewhere, you're in their computer, and their computer looks at all their information based on what you've searched and gives you back a result. All of that physically happens every time you type it into anything into Google. And it costs about 0.3 watt hours to do one search.
Okay.
GPTs, or the LLMs, are almost 3 watt hours. So like an order of magnitude
Wow,
more.
yeah, a lot more.
It's actually 2.9. 1 watt hour is equivalent to, do you know how many joules?
Well,
offhand?
we did the math for a watt, right? And it's like a joule per second is a watt. So times that by an hour, which is 3,600 seconds. So it's 3,600 joules.
You're so smart. I love
Oh,
it.
thanks, bud.
I knew it. Yeah. So if we wanted to, say, have how many searches or queries would produce enough joules to cook an egg, then we just have to multiply 2.9 watt hours by how many searches?
3,600. So it's over 10,000.
10,440 joules. So almost enough to cook one egg with one query.
Wow.
Almost enough. Because if you remember, 10,440 joules is one query. And to cook an egg required, based on our Q equals 60 grams times 3.2 joules per gram Celsius times 59 Celsius, 11,000 joules.
Yeah, that's close. You'd have a slightly runny egg.
A slightly undercooked egg with one search. Assuming, of course, you are using the exact amount of energy, which we're not. We're not replacing the query, right? That's, I think, that is if we replace the query with the equivalent energy to cook, we would cook an egg. And we're not actually swapping. What we're doing is actually taking the waste heat from this. And so you still could cook an egg. Because I don't think what AJ is asking is, could my query require enough energy to cook? They're saying if I use LLMs or just put an egg on top of their computer that they're running in already, are they going to cook stuff? So PC Gamer, interestingly, was testing an SLI system with a dual NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti.
That's a 10-year-old card. They don't.
It was not a new video.
It's a 2016 era graphics card. They don't do SLI is when you rig two of them together. They don't do that anymore.
Yes. And this was a 2017 video.
Okay, so it was the new hotness then.
Yep. And so if you watch this video, I can drop it in the chat. So just kind of describe what you're seeing here.
Okay, so he's got an egg. He's cracking it into a little aluminum foil container that he's handmade. Now he's opening up the side panel of his PC and he's just placing it right on top of the back plate of the graphics card. That's going to be right where the chip is. So where like the thermal conductance is. Then he runs Witcher 3, also classic of this time. He's running around Whiterun. Oh, he flips it over. That's good. good cooking etiquette. He's had it in there for 20 minutes, he said. He looks at his egg, pulls out the foil, and it does not look appetizing.
It does not.
It looks like a messy bowl of snot. Nope, don't eat it. Don't do it.
Oh,
don't
he's gonna
do
eat it, though.
He's gonna do. Oh, he got somebody else to eat it. The
He
guy
did.
hosting the video roped his poor friend into it.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that guy's like an editor because
Yeah.
editors will eat anything.
He might be a computer programmer, right? Who famously not typically culinarily inclined, so he's okay. He's just,
He
yeah,
said it's-
fine.
Yeah, he's
Listen,
like, it's not bad.
This is like the culture that produced Soylent, right? Which was
Yes.
like the pancake powder looking mix of all your food that you need. So
don't
you can
eat,
just keep
just have
coding,
this instead.
Which
Yeah.
I confess I lived off of for about 8 months.
Really?
So I did. I was sharing a kitchen with some very messy people, and I was looking for alternatives.
Wow. So yeah, they had a time lapse, so they clearly left it, like you said, about 20 minutes. And again, this is 2 GPUs in a consumer setting, whereas like a LLM is trained on thousands of them. Even ChatGPT's like releases said 1,024 GPUs because, of course, I asked ChatGPT and that's what it said. But I don't trust anything it says. A paper in Applied Sciences from University of Calabria. A paper in Applied Sciences from the University of Calabria in Italy in 2024 said the waste heat temperatures of a GPU in this kind of scenario range between 60 and 70 Celsius,
Oh, yeah.
which is great.
Makes sense.
And that is enough to cook an egg. Again, remember, Eloquitner and all those different eggs. So that would work. And then I also found a citation in the journal Food Biophysics from 2011. And this is what turned me on to Dr. Cesar Vega. A really big deal in the culinary science egg world because he did the science for the perfect egg.
Oh.
Yeah. When you go to a
He's the guy.
fancy...
He's Eggman.
Yeah. When you go to a fancy place for a restaurant, like a fancy restaurant, and they bring you like the chef's, whoever the famous chef is, this is, this chef Julian's egg, it's like a soft boiled perfect egg. It's because of studies like this from Dr. Vega, which is super cool. You need to impart heat over time at low heat. He cooked a lot of different eggs, and they all end up in the 6X, or like 63 to 65. And the name of the paper was Culinary Biophysics on the Nature of the 6X Celsius Egg. So Vega and his study partner, Mercade Preto, looked at the viscosity at different cooking times, ranging from 60 to 66 Celsius, and from different times of that cooking, from 0 minutes to 300 minutes, which is like 5 hours, and then graphed it all,
of course,
and created trend lines.
Interpolate, yeah.
And then, and this is my favorite part, converted the viscosity rating, which was in pascals, to different food item types. So 0.02 pascals is like whipping cream, and that's what you get when you cook an egg at nearly 0 minutes, no matter the temperature, which is excellent. But if you want something that's like 43.9 viscosity, which is like really high, like way up here, that's like a 66 egg for 20 minutes, or like 60 Celsius egg will never get there. So it's really, really interesting. So if you want an egg that has the viscosity of mayonnaise, which is actually good. If you think about a yolk that's like a little stand up, like a stiff peak.
I mean, mayonnaise has egg in it, but sure.
True. 65-degree waste heat of a data center for 12 minutes.
Not bad.
No. Now, if you think about how many queries they're processing a day, they say about 1 billion queries a day. So they're not going to be evenly distributed throughout the day. But if you divided that, the number of minutes a day, you end up with about 695,000 a minute, so 12 minutes, about 8.34 million queries would cook you an egg. And not just any egg, the perfect
egg. And we didn't have to stick it in a compost heap.
We did
Which was the previous time you mentioned somebody said they found the perfect way to cook an egg. If you remember. I don't know if you do. I do. I think about it a lot.
Yeah, he stuck it in the bottom of his compost. I love that guy.
And said it was the best duck egg he ever had. Just saying. Maybe Vega could have gone to that guy and been like, we're not going to do this, but what are the conditions in your poop pile?
That's funny. So again, this isn't from a single GPU. If you drop an egg on a GPU, it will cook it. PC Gamer showed us this. And
Poorly.
It is a lot of queries, like 700,000 queries a minute is a lot of queries. That's a lot of people. So don't walk away thinking, oh, I can make as many queries as I want, right? Oh, 700,000, that's just to cook an egg. But it's easy on the internet to be like detached from this stuff, which is why I spent so much of this time reminding you that this is physically happening. Just because for us, we're sitting on our couch on our little, Black Mirror devices, typing in stuff that like Wikipedia entries and trying to make jokes and stuff. That's fine. Do that. I'm not your dad. This is the society we've built. But even listening to this podcast is physically moving things around in a server somewhere.
Right.
It's just one of Apple's or Spotify's or whatever.
There's a cost to everything, right?
Everything has a cost. And there's single data centers, but there are hundreds of data centers all over the world. And in a traditional pre-LLM data center didn't have as many GPUs running all these queries. So they could run 10 kilowatts per tower of computers. But an LLM requires 6 times more than that. Requires an order of magnitude more per query. So you're ending up in the megawatts to operate the same type of data center. The world's largest data center in the world is in Virginia. It uses 2,500 megawatts of power. 1 megawatt is 200 houses.
How many horses is it?
Great question. I didn't do that math.
That's 33,525 mechanical horsepowers.
Wow, that's a lot of horses. Mm-hmm. So the point isn't technology is scary and bad. I would never say that. I think technology is incredible. It's how we use it that can be scary or
like
bad.
fire.
Yes. And the point is, think about the things that we do. Not feel bad, but just like think about them,
Yeah.
We should know this. We should know it so we can make informed decisions about the things that we choose to spend our money and our time and our electricity doing.
Right. And I want to commend AJ because he could have typed that into ChatGPT, this question, and he would have gotten an unreliable answer that would have used a lot of energy, but he outsourced it to us.
Yeah.
And we're not doing anything with our time.
Yeah.
So it's not a waste of energy for us. No. I mean, we're going about it, with some searches too, but we're not using LLMs usually, right?
Most of the time.
I think this was a conscientious use of energy, right? So long as you didn't make like 10 Google searches for every one ChatGPT question you would have asked for this question, come out ahead. Good job, AJ.
But yes, thank you, AJ, for asking that question. The answer, in case I missed it, because I kind of went by it pretty fast, is that if you put an egg onto a waste heat of a server farm that is filled with GPUs, for 12 minutes, you would end up with an egg with a yolk cooked like a viscosity of mayonnaise, which is considered pretty darn good.
Well, that is going to do it for this episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. Thanks so much for listening. The show is created, written, and produced by me, Julian Huguet.
And also by me, Trace Dominguez.
It was produced and edited by the wonderful Kyle Sisk, who knows the secrets of the perfect egg, and yet he refuses to share them.
Special thanks to the listeners who submitted questions featured in this episode, Loren and AJ. If you, listener, would like to submit a question, look for the form down in the show notes. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask. You can even call us on the cell phone, or on the mobile phone, or on the landline phone at 302 TAPESHO 302 tape show, and leave us a voicemail, and we will hopefully get to your question. Thank you to everyone who has submitted questions so far.
Special thanks to our Patreon subscribers who picked the question this week from Loren, and next week we had a bit of a snafu and 2 questions tied. It's going to be a double Patreon poll episode. Yeah. Looking forward to that. We're trying to give the people what they want. And as always, shout out to our absurd administrators, Les and Adam. If you want to subscribe to our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/that'sabsurdshow, where we post all the questions that we think are really good, but we don't have time to pick one specifically. So that's another way to get involved.
Yeah, and if you already joined the Patreon, or maybe that's not your thing. That's all right. You can leave us a review wherever you're listening right now. Reviews tell other people that this show is worth their time. So we really, really, really appreciate those reviews, and we read every single one of them.
Yeah.
Just go out there. You can leave us a review wherever you're listening. Leave us a star or, a thumbs up, or follow the show, whatever it is. We love all of you for listening every week. But thank you so much for those, especially for those people who have left reviews and told other people that it's worth their time.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, a special thanks to those listening on Nebula. Nebula listeners get access to ad-free versions of episodes, and they support us and other fantastic independent creators whose content we watch, we enjoy, we admire, and sometimes we have those people here on the pod. So if you want to support us and them, you can go to go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow.
And remember, as we say at the end of every single episode of That's Absurd, please elaborate.
Listen, if you have a Chihuahua, I need you to write us with how much horsepower that dog has.
Yes.
I told you how to do the math. It's not that hard. Loren, I know you have access to 3.
That's
I
true.
need this data. I need it for reasons.
The more Chihuahua data we get, the closer we're going to get to being able to cook an egg with Chihuahua power.
Right. We're going to solve this. I think that's it. That's all we want. That's what we say at the end of every episode, as you know. Send me your Chihuahua data.
Send me your Chihuahua data. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.